Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen destroyed my fish tank, so I fired her. After that, cheating student thought he had me fooled, fell right into my trap. And after that, entitled mom tries to take my computer. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to take out the trash. But you're too heavy for me to carry, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen destroyed my fish tank, so I fired her. I've had my cleaning service for roughly 3 years as my husband and I routinely work 12 plus hours a day and are often sent away as well. Since the beginning, I've had a strict rule of do not clean the living room ever. This is due to me keeping a very elaborate aquarium, 1,300-gallon reef, and cleaning products used near it can kill my fish. Because of this, I'm the only one who cleans the living room. A few days ago, I noticed a few of my fish seemed to be breathing heavily and had lost a lot of coral that was closed up. This is a very well-established tank, and it's been running for the last 7 years, so I immediately knew that something was wrong. Most of my fish are just as old as the tank, and I've had very little sickness happen at all. Fortunately, my setup allows me to do massive water changes, and I was up until 8 a.m. changing probably 80% of the water. Despite my best efforts, I lost a lot of fish. Seahorses had their own section of the tank, rays, various tangs, but the losses that hit me the hardest were my Moorish idols and a 6-foot tessellata moray. My entire tank was set up for the idols specifically. I spent over a year preparing it before I even got them. My moray, Bill, I'd had since he was under a foot long. I hand-fed him all of his meals. While I was trying to figure out what could have possibly caused my tank to crash, I noticed that the living room was clean, spotless even, and I knew what had happened. Chemicals got in the water and killed almost everything. I immediately called my cleaning lady and I lost it, telling her that she had one thing to remember, one, and it shouldn't have been possible to forget, seeing as the reason took up almost an entire wall of my house. She told me she had hired a new girl and must have forgotten to explain to her that she wasn't supposed to clean the living room and continued to ask if she had done a good job. I replied that she had done such a good job cleaning, she cleaned out my tank's inhabitants and told her that she wouldn't be returning to my home and she wouldn't be paid for the week. She didn't take that very well and started threatening to bring me to small claims court because the job was still done and done well, apparently. I basically told her to kick dirt, and she's lucky I'm only firing her and not suing her due to the thousands of dollars I'd lost due to her mistake. Everyone keeps telling me they're only fish, just buy more, or she was just doing her job. I'm sure the poor girl feels horrible enough. Maybe I'm just letting my anger and upset cloud my judgment and I'm being unreasonably harsh. But I loved those fish. They weren't just fish to me, and I loved them all very much. So please, am I the jerk for firing my cleaning lady for cleaning? Edit. Thank you guys for being so kind. A lot of people are suggesting I sue, or at least lawyer up. I do have a lawyer on retainer just because of the line I work in, but I have no plans on suing unless she tries to make a claim against me for a measly $150. I live in an incredibly small area, so word of mouth will be damaging enough. Update. Thank you guys for the overwhelming amount of support. On the other hand, apparently, I'm supposed to be giving an elaborate explanation of my care routine / setup and everything else, and I'm supposed to be posting on fish keeping subreddits every day, all day. Nope. For me, Reddit is just some website that I usually just browse the popular page of for a giggle before bed. If more information is needed, I hire a cleaning service, so I have time to take care for my tank. This isn't just some tank that I bought, it was actually built into the house. It's plumbed into the house, and I've spent more money than I am willing to disclose on systems in place that allow me to have this setup and still have my career. This was also not just a crash, though my tank certainly has crashed because of it. Some of my fish are now entirely blind and need to be taught to find food with smell alone. They will never be able to return to the main tank as they're now disabled and require more attention and more one-on-one care. Chemicals were involved, and my cleaning lady has contacted me to admit fault. I don't really know what else to say here, other than what's done is done, and nothing will change this. I really do appreciate the support the vast majority of people have shown. I do not support yelling at anyone who does service work, and I do still feel guilty about that. but I do feel better knowing that a lot of people believe my response was justified. This will be my last edit and update as I have a lot of work to do from here, but I just want to let you know that I appreciate all of your kind words, general sense of outrage from my fishy friends, and the vast amount of attention this got. Have a good day, everyone. Rest in peace, Bill. Cheating student thought he had me fooled, fell right into my trap. So, I'm a cancer researcher and a guest professor at a university school of medicine, teaching my specialty, imaging. Besides the usual acquisitions of medical images using MRI, CT, etc., imaging has a lot to do with image processing. Some days I'm just a glorified programmer/IT guy, and as anyone who has ever programmed anything will tell you, coding is a very personal activity. With enough experience, you can tell who wrote what just by looking at the lines. I'm also in my late 20s, and I'm not native to this country, and it's my first year as guest professor. So, some students look at me as this inexperienced, gullible foreign guy. As part of my module's grading, the students have to submit 2 reports that weigh 10% each of their final grade. These reports are about image processing, and they have to code a fair bit. As usual, there are students that make an effort. Some do minimal work and then cheat and copy. As I was grading the reports, I noticed a small group of students who found reports from previous years online and literally copy and pasted those reports, changing only their name. It was a facepalm moment because those reports were not even good and had a lot of errors. You see, in order to establish a baseline for my grading, I browsed previous year's reports so I knew what to expect from the students of this module. Naturally, I graded them all with 0 and kept working my way through grading the reports I had left. Meanwhile, the students casually asked me in the halls how were the reports. Of course, I can't comment on that until I release the grades. One time, this dude who had copied from another report, 98% match on plagiarism checker, asks me when will I release the grades and comes up with this story that he worked really hard on his report, that his exam hasn't gone so well, and he's hoping that the grade on his report is enough to get a pass. I mean, submitting another person's work as your own is very wrong, but it was an online submission and impersonal. Right now, he was just lying through his teeth and to my face. I could feel my blood boiling, but I didn't lose my composure and decided to come up with a plan. I knew that my exam was the last exam of the semester, and that after that, the students usually go home or family vacations while they wait for their grades to be posted online. So I graded the exams and input their grades into my Excel with their report grades. 4 students had 0 due to cheating on their reports, and if I graded their reports with 50% of the max grade, they would barely fail the module, but they would fail nonetheless. So it was on. In order to be fair, I bumped up everyone else's grades. A bunch of people with miserable reports ended up barely passing because of my grades bump. But even though their reports were bad, it was their own work and not copied from anywhere. You see, students are entitled to make an appointment to review their grades after publishing and before the grades are locked for the year. Basically, they sit with me, we go through their exam and reports, and their goal is to convince me to give them extra points in hopes that they can pass the module. I knew the cheaters would come. After all, they think they fooled me once already, and they still have half the report's points to bargain for. So I just waited for their emails. Lo and behold, they write me the same day the grades go online, saying how hard they have worked on their reports, and that they don't understand how they only got a 50. And that they wanted an appointment. I was ecstatic. Sure, let's review your grades. Do you remember that my exam was the last one? Well, they were already on vacations, some very far away, and begged me for an online appointment. No can do, university policy. Moreover, you have 3 days to show for your appointment, otherwise the grades are locked. Also university policy. So here they come, cutting their vacation short and catching planes. Some spend hours in buses and trains to make it on time. I know what many of you are thinking. They come, I show them the plagiarism checker results, and reveal that I know that it's not their work and send them on their way. Well, I considered it, but I had something better in mind. Those appointments usually only take 10 minutes. I show them their work with my notes on what's wrong and what's right, and they try to find some inconsistencies in my grading and bargain for more points. I ain't giving you the opportunity. So, one by one, they sit with me individually, and I go through their exam and reports. Remember that they copied the reports, and copied bad ones with a lot of errors. I ask questions, lots of them. Why did you do this? What is your reasoning for this? They don't know. it's not their work. They mumble random stuff because they don't know what to answer. Point by point, mistake by mistake, I explain what is wrong, how it should be done, lecturing the same material that they had already been lectured on during class. I make it long, I make it boring, I make it painful. I spent hours with each of them throughout those 3 days. They always came up with the same, "I worked so hard on this," and a little smirk on their face before they thought that it should be really easy to fool me, the gullible foreign again. And as hours go by, I'm walking through the errors one by one. I could see their expressions change. Little by little, their hopes of passing being slowly crushed. And when they realized that I knew they cheated and I wasn't going to give them any extra points. At this point, they tried to cut short their appointment and leave, but I wouldn't let them. "We need to finish the review of your grades. It's university policy." And I just kept going, extending their misery for one more hour or two. It was glorious. At the end, every single one of them left with a crushed soul look in their eyes and a fail in my class. They knew that I caught them, that I baited them, and they fell for it. They ruined their vacation and their family vacations, spent money to travel back and forth, wasted precious summertime, and had nothing to show for it. And next year, they will have to repeat the module with me. I hope you enjoy your summer. See you next year. Entitled Mom Tries to Take My Computer. Backstory: I absolutely love technology and get very protective of computers, even if it isn't mine, mostly because I understand how expensive they are to manufacture and how annoying it is for stores and people. I'm 15 and have a baby face and size that makes me look like I'm 12. Cast: we've got me, we've got Entitled Mom, we've got the scared kid, we've got the kind employee, and the annoying security. Okay. So my local Walmart had to hire a few security officers because they keep getting trollers knocking stuff over and calling the cops wastes their time. I went to my local Walmart to get a new laptop because my old one broke last week. So I got the last one on the shelf and was heading to the checkout when Entitled Mom walks up and just takes it out of my arms. So I look at her and say, "Miss, that was clearly in my hands, and I'd like it if you could give it back." And she looks at me with this "I'm clearly a jerk" face and says, "You're obviously too young to buy this. Where are your parents?" I was mad because, well, I hate my small height. So I turn around and head for the nearest employee. The lady grabs my shoulder and says, "Don't walk away from me." The employee, literally walking our way, looks up and sees and hears this and runs over. Employee: "Is everything all right here?" Me: "No. I was taking this laptop to the cash register so that I could check out, and this weirdo just came up and took it out of my hands." "No, I did not. I'm so sorry for this, sir. This is my son. He makes stuff up all the time." Me: "I'm not your son, you crazy jerk. Now let go of me." So I struggle out of her grip and take my laptop and start walking towards the registers when this lady literally screams. It was the worst sound I've ever heard. The employee is just standing there now, pale as a ghost, saying, "Ma'am, please quiet down. I will get your laptop back." The employee runs up to me and takes the laptop and grabs me and starts walking back when annoying security comes running up and asks what happened. The employee and security have a quick conversation about what's happening, me now in security's grip. Then they give Entitled Mom the laptop and tell me that I need to wait at the front for her and she will finish shopping. Me: "This crazy jerk isn't my mom, and you can ask the employee at the tech desk. He got the laptop out of the glass cabinet thing for me." So, as security, the employee, and Karen walk back with me to the tech desk and ask the guy sitting there who confirms that he got me the laptop. I walked out of the store with a laptop, 15% off, a $50 Walmart gift card, and the Entitled Mom screaming at the security about how she had rights. He wasn't allowed to do this, and that I was a little jerk who was extremely disrespectful. Seriously, could have handled it better, but Entitled Moms are common in my area and very annoying. Props to the employee for being so nice and handling it well. Security was a jerk when I got the laptop back and just disrespectful the entire time. Bang wants to play stupid games? Then let's play stupid games. So I live in South Korea, but I work for a US company in South Korea. And because I work for an American company, and I'm one of the few employees of my company that is American in South Korea, my company doesn't issue me this letter that basically says I'm employed in South Korea. So this means I have restrictions on my Korean bank account. I can only withdraw 250,000 won, about $216 a day, from an ATM, and if I go in person to a teller, I can only withdraw 1 million won, about $870 a day. This normally doesn't present a problem for me. I also can't have a debit or credit card. I get a bank book, which is kind of like an electronic checkbook that's a physical thing you carry. For your information, I use my American bank for most of my day-to-day spending. But it did once. I signed a lease for a new apartment and my deposit was 10 million won, about 8,700 US dollars. Yes, this is normal for Korea. So I transferred the money from my American bank to my Korean bank, and I went to the bank in person to transfer the money to my landlord. I get there, and the teller tells me I can only transfer 1 million per day. My first idea was to ask my landlord if she'd be cool with me transferring her 1 million won a day for 10 days. She doesn't like that idea. So I'm sitting there arguing, and the bank manager comes out. He's a nice enough man and speaks good English. Basically, he says because of my type of my account, there is no way that I can transfer more than 1 million a day. So I need this money, and I'm thinking, and the light bulb goes off in my head. Me. If I close my account, do I get my money? Manager. Yes, we would give you the cash. Me. And if I close my account, can I open a new one? Manager. Of course. Me. Is there a waiting period after closing my account to open a new one? No. Fantastic. Please close my account. Manager. Sure, I will need your bank book and we will destroy it. I hand them my bank book and they destroy it. I sign some papers to close the account. Bank manager closes the account and gives me all the money in the account in an envelope. Manager. Anything else I can help you with today? I smile and pull out my passport. Yes, I'd like to open a new bank account. Bank manager looks at me and it dawns on him what I just did. He laughs, shakes his head, and goes, sure, not a problem. I opened a new account, deposited 10,000 won, and left with my deposit in my pocket. I believe this qualifies for malicious compliance because I followed the bank's rules and it resulted in them having to do more work. So, you think you can feed a family on $150 per month? Several years ago, my ex-husband, our son, and I, pregnant, lived in a fairly well-off town. We weren't rich or even middle class at the time, more like upper low class living in a low-class apartment. He thought he was good with money, but he really isn't. He has ideas because his dad is an accountant, but he has no actual practical knowledge. I knew we were on a budget and for the most part agreed to keeping down the cost of most of the expenses. The only exception in my eyes was the food budget. I would try to spend $600 a month on food for the 3.5 of us, and this was still what I considered on the low end. For example, friends of ours, just a couple with no dependents, would spend about $800 to $900 on groceries, while my ex-in-laws would spend $1,200 to $1,500 on groceries for 3 to 4 people. We had a kid and a baby on the way. Cutting food out wasn't an option. Kid is hungry. Kid needs to eat. As a pregnant woman, I ate for the both of us, and I didn't splurge on treats for my cravings. I knew we had bills to pay, and that my financially crazy ex would be upset if I ate away at our food budget due to a craving. My ex-husband would frequently complain over several years how we spend too much money on groceries. He mentioned a couple times per month that $600 per month was too much. We needed to reduce our food budget to $150 a month. I tried to show him grocery receipts. I tried showing him flyers and online ads. He still maintained that we could survive off of $150 in groceries each month. He was adamant. He was sure. He was positive that I was just making things difficult. I wasn't the only one to tell him that he was wrong. As I stated, I was pregnant, which means hormonal. I had had enough, so here's where the malicious compliance comes in. Me. Okay, I've had enough of this. Tomorrow is the start of a new month. I haven't gone grocery shopping in a week. Give me $150 in cash and I will feed us for the month. X. Really? Okay, I'll bring home the cash tomorrow. I spent the rest of the evening searching for every single coupon I could find. Fun fact, Americans have this system where if you spend a coupon at certain grocery stores, you could buy an item for 10 cents to 50 cents. However, we don't live in the US. Our coupons pale in comparison. I searched for all the deals. I wrote down a list of items we needed, what store had them for what price, and noted if I had a coupon or not. For your information, I generally did something similar to this anyway, but I just expanded my search to a couple extra stores. The following day, when I was given $150 by my ex, I waddled my pregnant self around 4 different grocery stores, grabbing all of the food we normally eat. When I got home, I had spent approximately $145 of our oh-so-generous food budget on the first day of the month. I was proud of myself. Sarcasm. I had budgeted so well. I showed my ex-husband all of the food I bought and all of the receipts. I placed the change in a jar on top of the fridge with the receipts inside. He said I did well and was happy I bought so much for so little. Later on that week, we ran out of milk. Kid has no milk to drink for his cereal. Out to the store to buy some. A week and a half later, it's getting close to dinner time. X. What's for dinner? Me. Nothing. What do you mean nothing? We have plenty of food. Oh, do we? I didn't realize. What did you find in the cupboards? X opens the cupboard doors. Fridge, freezer, pantry door. Nothing. There's literally nothing. Me. Okay, so we have no food in the house. How much money do we have for our food budget? X empties the jar. 34 cents. That can't be right. Me. Did you add up the receipts and see if we made a mistake somewhere? X. Okay, I get it. I'll go buy some groceries. And that, my friends, is how you convince your financially crazy ex-spouse that their budgeting ideas are out of touch with reality. Sadly, I did not convince him to increase our food budget back to $600 a month, but he did agree to $500 per month, which I suppose he keeps to this day, despite the fact it's usually just himself he has to feed. Chef, how long for that order? I've posted a few times about my work in a hotel. This is the last story of malicious compliance that I can think of worth telling. I was quite new to the hotel and very new to room service when this happened, so the chefs hadn't gotten to know me yet. I was waiting on an order, the only room service order, and the kitchen was not quiet. It wasn't busy, but there were a few orders queued up for the restaurant. I had been waiting for the order for maybe 7 to 8 minutes and had picked a couple of quick, easy jobs to do while I waited. Not wanting to start anything else in case I didn't have time, I approached the sous chef, Satish, at the window. How long for that order, chef? Buzz off. Something about the way he said it didn't cause me to instantly get upset, but I was a bit confused and thought maybe he thought I was rushing him. So I asked again differently. I'm just wondering how long I have before the order is ready. I said buzz off. Okay, now I'm ticked off. You want me to buzz off? No bother, mate. I walked over to the room service station, grabbed the trolley, and went up to the 7th floor in search of the dirty room service trays. The building, shaped like a U, and the service elevator is smack dab in the middle of the U. So when checking the floors, you need to pick one direction and walk until the end, as there are little alcoves designed to hide the trays so it looks less dirty to an extent. So you need to walk one side, double back around to the elevator, and repeat for the other side. There are about 85 to 97 rooms per floor, so it's at least half a kilometer walked per floor. I walked all 6 floors that had rooms on them. Ordinarily, I would grab 4 to 5 trays and pop back down to clear them off, but forget that noise. I pile about 10 trays precariously until it looks like Wile E. Coyote's latest attempt to catch Roadrunner and take my Acme trolley back down. I arrive back downstairs a good 30 to 40 minutes later and can hear the echoes of the chef screaming, "Room service!" half the hotel away. I stroll into the kitchen and walk towards the porter station to unload dirty dishes, and Satish finally spots me. Where the heck have you been? I've been calling you for 20 minutes. I went to clear the floors. I asked you how long and you wouldn't answer. I can't stand around all day for one order. I've got other stuff to do. If I ask and you tell me 10 minutes, I'll be back in 9. If you tell me 2 minutes, I won't even leave. I'll find something here. But if you tell me to buzz off, I'll do whatever I deem to be urgent. Satish didn't answer. I can see he's not happy, but he's thinking. The moments seem to drag on. Finally, he starts laughing. Didn't expect that. He turns around to the chef and says, "This is ruined. I need a new one straight away." Turns back to me and politely says, 2 minutes. Not to push my luck, I unload the trays at breakneck speed and grab the new tray for this order and move to the window after 90 seconds. The fallout? Satish is actually a great guy, and we got on like a house on fire after that. He would always tell me how long, and we were actually the most efficient pairing. I have no idea why he was like that at the moment it happened, but he moved past it pretty quickly and was usually in a great mood. He would sing and dance when it was crazy busy to keep himself hyped up on adrenaline, and we had plenty of laughs before I moved on about 8 months later. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay an artist for her work? Okay, so I know it sounds bad, but I genuinely don't think I'm at fault here. So I'm currently planning to get my apartment repainted completely since I've just moved in and all of the walls happen to be white. I was talking to a friend about this when he told me he had a friend who had just recently graduated art school and was really into wall painting. I told him I didn't want any wall painting done because I had already planned out most of the coloring scheme. He told me that his friend was looking for places to practice wall painting since she's new to it and hasn't really found places she could do that without it being vandalism. So he called her up and we had a chat. I said, I don't mind letting her paint the walls in my bedroom because I'm busy for the next few days and it isn't a common living space. I checked with my painters and they told me that they could easily paint over that. They're not free for a couple of weeks, so I haven't moved in yet, but I told him to ask his friend to go nuts in my room without scraping or causing any damage. I told her that her work would be painted over. She said she's simply doing it for the practice and wouldn't mind as long as she could take some pictures for her portfolio and that I would be doing her a huge favor letting her practice. So fast forward a couple of weeks and I go to my room and it's absolutely amazing with a bunch of designs and a lot of edgy art, so I decide that I wouldn't get it painted over. Problem is, I have a contract with my painter and still have to pay him for my room even if he doesn't do the job. I called her and told her that the room was great and I'd be recommending her to anyone who asked who painted my room. She then, out of the blue, asked me how much I'd be paying her for the work. I told her about my painter situation and that I would have paid her the amount I was paying him if I didn't have a contract. She got mad and told me that I was taking advantage of a young artist. She's literally 3 years younger than me. She said she'd sue me for payment and I reminded her of our agreement. She said that that was done on the basis that I wouldn't be keeping it. I told her that I was doing her a favor by giving her a place to practice and that I never had any monetary obligation. She blew up at me and called our mutual friend. I explained my situation and how I simply don't have the funds, but he thinks I'm the jerk too. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Edit, I never wanted my room to be painted by an artist and don't have the money to get it done professionally. I thought I'd keep it because it looks great and I could recommend other people who saw it to her. Edit, I did not charge her anything for letting her use my walls for practice. Edit, I didn't commission her to do it. I didn't even give her any guidelines except not to scrape up the walls. This was supposed to be her practicing and making a portfolio. I wasn't trying to con her. I thought it wouldn't hurt me to let her practice since I would be getting repainting done anyways. I did not originally plan on keeping the art. I was thinking of paying her a token amount, whatever I can, but now I'm torn about doing that as well, since that would actually give her grounds to sue. She does not have the right to claim ownership or intellectual property rights of the art right now. I checked, but I don't want to get myself into more hot water trying to do a good thing. The painters were contracted and are being paid for me reserving their time, at least from what I understand. It's too late to cancel any charges. Am I the jerk for wearing white at my blind cousin's wedding? I'd like to start by saying that me and my female cousin, blind from birth, aren't very close, but we get along well as relatives. She's 26 and her wedding was last week. She sent me an invitation, though we don't talk much, but since I wanted a break from work, I decided to go. My favorite color is white. I have brown skin. Love wearing white because it brings out my skin glow and makes me feel comfortable and confident. I purchased a maxi white dress. Nothing fancy, but goes well with my skin tone, and wore it at the wedding. There wasn't a big party with many guests, but sort of a family dinner and small celebration. I really thought no one would even notice I was wearing white. My cousin and her husband didn't know, because obviously no one told them. But my aunt kept giving me uncomfortable looks the entire evening, and so did my other cousin. Once I decided to leave, my aunt pulled me aside and berated me for wearing this color at her daughter's wedding. She just said because her daughter is blind doesn't mean she's stupid and doesn't know what's going on around her. Basically saying I brought negative energy and disturbed the celebration by having guests notice, and by extension, my cousin as well. She gave a lengthy lecture and asked if I hate to see her daughter happy and whether I pulled this stunt because my blind cousin got married before me. I was like, whoa, calm down. None of this is true. I just wore my favorite color and didn't do it because my cousin is blind and wouldn't notice. And married before me? I never thought of that. I argued with my aunt for trying to dictate what I wear, but she defended herself, saying I was a guest and should have respected the bride. I left feeling very upset and exhausted from that encounter. My boyfriend said he believed I used the fact that my cousin is blind to wear white, but this didn't fly with her family. He pulled the "I told you so" line and said that I just made the family hate me with that stunt. Even though he knows that I always wear white, but he warned me that if my cousin finds out, there's going to be issues. He suggested I get ready to apologize but I really see no reason to apologize since I chose to wear a comfortable color that I feel confident in. Edit. What the heck? I'm seeing some angry folks here getting too upset over this matter. I honestly never cared about this stuff, but obviously a lot of people do. I just think it's ultimately my choice to wear what I want whenever I go somewhere, especially since I wasn't taking any part of the wedding. But seeing how many people care about minor stuff like this, I guess I didn't think this through. Am I the jerk for quitting a job on the spot when they gave me a bad evaluation after only working 15 hours? When I was 23, I started working at a clothing store in the mall for some extra money. I was there for about a week, though I only worked some short training shifts. I worked a total of 15 hours. The managers pulled me aside and said they gave me an evaluation. It would have been fine. I am open to criticism and improving. However, they gave me a really low score, 5 out of 45, saying I was not living up to expectations and it was going to go in my file. They promised it would be amended when I improved. I pointed out that this was unfair, as I had not been trained on 3/4 of the things on that list, so why was I getting a low permanent score before my training period was up? I asked for the paper and they said I could not have it, but they would give me a copy. I told them never mind, this was not a job I saw myself thriving at, and they should find someone else to finish my shift. It was my first long shift. I was supposed to work 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., but said I didn't care if they had to stay late and left. They tried to get me not to leave by saying that they would give me a copy of the paper, but I said I wasn't going to work here any longer and I went home. I found a new job babysitting until I finished my degree. I've never been into that store again. Am I the jerk? Click this button to join as a channel member and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. And come watch this video next. You won't believe what I do in that one.